everybody. This is the first Wyly Wednesday. I'm really excited to launch this so we can have real unfiltered conversations. Grateful to have Chayse Dittmer on with us today. She is the BDM for Channel Exchange Marketplace. So if you don't know what that means yet, you're about to. The intention of this LinkedIn Live series is pull back the curtain on the tools and platforms and conversations that are actually moving the needle for partners in today's channel. So no fluff, no slide decks, just real talk. So Chayse, if you want to give a quick intro and then we can dive right in.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Shara. I'm very excited to be your first interviewee. But nice to meet everybody. I am one of four business development managers on our Channel Exchange team. We are all split into different regions. My counterpart, Amber, who is the account manager, cover all of the West. So anyone that falls within Pacific or Mountain Standard Time Zone, Amber and I support. We're both based out of Phoenix, Arizona. And kind of what is Channel Exchange? We'll dive into deeper details here today, but Channel Exchange at the end of the day is a cloud solution provider, and we offer a self-service marketplace for partners, whether you're an agent, VAR, MSP, to be able to start making money on your customers' Microsoft licensing or attaching yourself to those opportunities to grow your recurring revenue stream. And so, Cheryl, I'll pass it back to you. We can get it
Yeah, so
started, the interview.
So let's start right there, where most people who are watching this are probably really curious about, maybe even skeptical about what and how is this relevant to them. So as you know, we work with a lot of partners in the indirect channel, but you also talk to people who may not be as familiar as what this revenue opportunity looks like. So for someone watching who has a book of business but has never sold through the indirect channel model, what does Channel Exchange actually do for them that they can't get by going direct?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest differentiator here is really quite simple. It's going to be monetization and support without that added overhead. If partners today you're being asked about Microsoft licensing and you are sending them to Microsoft Direct, you're effectively cutting yourself out of that piece of the pie where you could be making money on. And so for partners, Channel Exchange really gives you a way to own that customer relationship and start earning recurring commission without having to build out an internal Microsoft practice. So, with Channel Exchange, you get backed by full team. Amber and I, as your dedicated sales support team, we have a licensing specialist in-house. We have an Azure pre-sales engineer, as well as a Microsoft vendor business manager. So the partner, you really don't have to be the expert. You just have to have that conversation and know who to loop in, which would be our team. But for customers, it's also going to be a huge step up, right? For anyone that's growing Microsoft Direct today, if they get good support, it's because they pay for it. But they get an AI chat box. They don't have a named team. They're paying MSRP. They can only pay credit card. And we'll talk about price here last, but in terms of support, it's going to be an immediate uplift that they're going to see, right? Again, I say this jokingly, but it is very serious. If you do not pay for Microsoft support today, you are not in any priority. So you're behind somebody that's asking questions about their Xbox, maybe Fortnite, right? And it's taking weeks, maybe 2 weeks to get an answer. We ourselves have a premier support agreement with Microsoft, and our support to our customers and partners is completely free. There is no built-in cost with the license that you'll see, no maintenance fee, there's no support fee, and there's no support fee. So with that, you're going to get responses, right? You go from 1 week or 2 week responses to same day, maybe same hour responses with our tech team. We say about 85% of the tickets that come in, we can fix in-house. If there's ever a case that we need to escalate to Microsoft, one, we're getting a fast response, and two, we're doing it all for you, so we're streamlining it. Customers now also gain, obviously, all of the support resources that we just talked about, but they move on to a simplified platform. If you guys have ever been on Microsoft's website, it's not the easiest to navigate. And our platform really simplifies that management of licenses for them. So they got one big dashboard for all of the licenses that they're transacting. And again, we're a SaaS marketplace. And while Microsoft's the bread and butter of what we do, maybe their business needs have grown and they need email security, right? That's another license that they can order through that portal, and it now expands their options. And the last thing is price. If they're going to Microsoft Direct today, they're paying us MSRP. Our platform pulls directly from that Microsoft price list. So by default, that's exactly what they're going to see in our platform too. That is not to say I'm happy to have that conversation if we need to get a little bit more competitive on pricing. So that could be a play here. But um, really, the biggest thing that they gain is premier level support, you know, Microsoft specialist, possibly a cheaper price. And for you, you guys are now getting paid on it.
I love that. Own the relationship, earn the commission, and you don't have to become the expert overnight. That's a really big deal. So,
Mhm.
speaking of expertise, right now there's a lot happening in the Microsoft world, a lot. So, let's talk about that because this is where the timing really gets interesting. Microsoft just dropped E7, right? Their Frontier Suite. It's launching May 1st, which is 2 days away, $99 a user, bundling E5, Copilot, Entra, and the new Agent 365 governance layer all in one. So customers are going to be getting calls from every direction. How does Channel Exchange help a partner navigate that conversation and come out the trusted advisor instead of just another voice in the noise?
Yeah. So I always say we're partners. This is going to be a theme of this whole call, right? We're partners when it's not by being the expert, it's by being the orchestrator, right? We serve as that technical resource on your team or an extension of your team. So kind of this is what the typical workflow will look like if you get asked about something like an E7 or Copilot. The moment you hear something like that, it should be a cue to get myself or get Amber involved so we can kind of take that ball and roll with it and take it over the finish line. But we'd run a discovery call with that customer. We'd bring in the right specialist. So maybe it's an Azure conversation, we'll loop in Chayse. Maybe it's a 365 conversation, we'd loop in John. So on and so forth. We make sure that we align that solution to their actual business goal. So we'd want to learn more about why they think that they need that, what they currently have, and what their goals are to make sure that they're not just buying a bundle to buy a bundle, but they're actually getting value out of what they're buying. Um, and so that really puts you guys as a partner, you know, when you own that client relationship, it puts you guys as a real trusted advisor, bringing real solutions and support to the table, rather than just selling them bundled licenses.
That's it. The orchestrator. I love that framing. And honestly, that's exactly how I think about what we do at Intellisys also. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know the right people to support you. So
Mhm.
let's get into the timing piece a little bit deeper because there's some real structural changes that are happening right now with Microsoft licensing that create a genuine window right now of opportunity. With Microsoft raising their E3 and their E5 prices in July 2026, there's real complexity around the EA renewals and CSP transition. For a partner who's been mostly in the telecom and connectivity space, not historically a Microsoft shop, why does right now matter for getting into this space through the Channel Exchange?
Yeah, great question because right now is, you know, more than ever you should be having these conversations. I'd say historically, customers that were large enough to go on an EA and that minimum was 500, although that is kind of a small target for Microsoft. That is what would qualify you. I think their ideal customer size would have been more in that 1,000, 2,400 mark. But historically, right, these types of customers would go on an EA because they get tiered discounting. And the CSP space, so us, Pax8, SureWeb, AppDirect, any of these players were all considered indirect providers. It was hard to compete with, right? They got such deep discounts on an enterprise agreement that partners really didn't have the chance to attach themselves to these opportunities and get paid on it. That's gone away. It's a legacy program as of November 1st of last year. And so what you'll see or what customers will see as they come up for renewal is they're no longer one of two things. If they get to remain on their EA because they're still large enough, they're no longer seeing the same discount structure that they were when they first entered, right? Those discounts typically right now still only apply to those enterprise agreement SKUs, not anything else, not any of the other add-ons that they have. Um, and two, if they are too small at this point, right? We're being told if it's under 2,400, they don't even have the chance to continue on in the EA program. They are effectively being dropped from enterprise agreement. Microsoft is doing a huge shift to bring these customers into a partner-led program in the channel where they're getting the support and the same price. And so for you guys as partners, these EA deals are a 3-year commitment. They take a lot of paperwork and a lot of true up. You want to get your foot in the door about 6 to 9 months ahead of the game, right? Because if you are not having that conversation, there is another partner trying to attach themselves to that opportunity. And so having that conversation and just saying, hey, I always like to say that the partners in this scenario are just as much of a value add to us as they think that we are to them, right? They have the trust and the history and the relationship with the client. So getting in front of them 6 to 9 months before renewal gives you an opportunity to say, hey, we expanded our services. We now support Microsoft licensing. Have you, with the Microsoft changes that have taken place, have you just, explored other paths in the CSP program where you could be getting more support and maybe a cheaper price, maybe the same price? We'd have to take a look at it and we can give you a quote. But again, really good time for you guys to be having those conversations. So in an enterprise agreement, Microsoft owns the relationship. And in the CSP program, the partner owns that relationship. So the partner would get paid, and it's an opportunity for you guys to have, add to your recurring revenue stream.
Yeah, that CSP shift is real. I'm glad you brought that up. I've
Yeah,
been in that exact conversation with partners lately, especially with the time, the sense of urgency with these changes taking place. So the window is open, but it's not going to stay open forever. So
that's correct.
yeah, now before we get into what partners get wrong, right? I want to make sure everyone watching truly understands the landscape that we're operating in. So, because I think a lot of partners may assume that their customers are buying Microsoft one way. And the reality is, unfortunately, it's a lot messier than that you kind of touched on. So, what kinds of customers will partners run into? How do those customers buy Microsoft licenses today, and how can partners engage with them to capitalize off this
Yeah,
opportunity?
absolutely. This question is so important, I think, right? If you tell a customer that's buying Microsoft Direct or they're already buying in the channel about these EA changes, it's completely irrelevant to them. So it's very important, I think, for partners to understand how they buy them today and who you're talking to. And we'll exclude net new from this conversation, but there's 3 ways in which customers are buying Microsoft today. They're a large customer, so they're on an enterprise agreement directly with Microsoft. Maybe it's administered through like an SHI, but again, that contract buys directly with Microsoft. They're maybe small, they don't have a partner that they're working through, and they just go to Microsoft.com and buy licenses for themselves, which we call commercial direct. And the third, of course, being our space, which is the CSP indirect provider space. And so you really want to understand where your current client is currently buying from today, because that engagement is really going to look different for each customer. For enterprise agreements, right? Again, these are the large whales of the world. They're coming off of a 3-year agreement. Here, almost always, you'll probably want to lead with price. Obviously, support will be a big value add in what they gain in our team, and flexibility is also a big value add, but support's really going to be the main thing for enterprise agreement customers. So you want to get in early. You want to, position yourself in a way that you have the opportunity to quote this as they come up for renewal. And then let's talk about channel. If they're already in the channel, price is not typically something that I would lead with, but more asking discovery questions and figuring out their pain points, right? The end goal is the same. They're doing the same thing that they are doing with Pax8, that they'd be doing it with us, but we need to fill in the gaps and add value to where they're not getting it today. And so we want to know more about, right, do they like the support that they're getting? Are they paying for it? Do they like the platform that they work on? Are there any fees associated with it? And then, of course, like their support team, do they go into an open queue? Is it a group inbox that they're waiting for responses for days on end? Because here they'd have a dedicated named account team. And of course, price is also eventually going to be a part of that conversation. And if it comes down to that again, we only win if our partners win. So let's have that conversation and see where we can get more competitive and talk about what that discounting structure would look like if they moved over into our channel. But within the CSP channel, you're really going to lean into where are their pain points today and what gaps can we fill by bringing them under channel exchange or bringing them under you as the partner, right? Because again, this is a partner-led program. You guys are very much a part of the value add. And the third one is going to be the easiest, I hate this term, but the lowest hanging fruit. It is very true. There's no reason any of your customers that you're speaking to today should be going Microsoft Direct. There's no value in it for the customer. For the partner, it effectively cuts you out, so you're not getting paid on it. But for the customer, especially, right? Again, they go to a chat box. They pay for support if they're getting good support. It's a hard platform to work off. It's only credit card. It's only Microsoft. Um, and it's just a really difficult world to navigate if Microsoft with all the Microsoft changes that are taking place. So moving them to the channel it should be an absolutely easy sell. They go from no support to premier support. They go from no named sales team or contacts to now a dedicated sales team, Microsoft resources, Azure resources, and a VBM. They now get to also then work on a platform where they can transact more vendors than just Microsoft as their business needs grow. And they have the flexibility to now pay either credit card or ACH. And I'm not a finance expert, but I have partners tell me that for finance reasons, ACH was much better for them. So that was a big value add for them. So again, Microsoft Direct is going to be the lowest hanging fruit. You should absolutely be having those customers moved into the channel under you where they're getting support, they're paying for the same thing, and nothing else about their environment changes. They're just, again, getting a game support, sales team.
Yeah. So I also hear the opportunity is already sitting in their existing accounts as well. You just have to know to ask what to look for and what questions to ask and engage us early and often to help navigate those discussions. So that segues perfectly into my last question. And we're trying to keep this brief and brilliant, as informative as possible for those of you that are watching and you still have questions. We are here to engage and help. Drop your questions in the chat and we'll be sure to circle back around with you. But I think the biggest barriers for partners, Chayse, isn't knowledge, it's mindset. So I want you to be like real on this one with me. Okay. What's the one thing most partners get wrong about the marketplace as a whole, about the marketplace model? What does it actually look like when a partner gets it right?
Yep, and I said the theme of today's call is going to be that you don't need to be the expert, and that's really the biggest misconception that partners think that this is going to be really time consuming. It's going to require deep expertise. And in reality, it's really quite the opposite for an agent that wants to transact in our world, right? The partner's role in this is quite simple. They identify the opportunity, right? Because they already have these client relationships. They make the introduction to our team. And from there, our team is handling it from, discovery to order to billing to support. You, after that initial introduction, are really kind of just sitting on the back end and receiving the commissions that follow. And so, again, we handle the discovery, the solution design, the quoting and ordering, enablement and support, billing. And you guys stay involved at a high level, but we do all of the execution here. And again, Microsoft, I'd say it's one of the, right, if you ask somebody if they're doing Sophos, you're going to get more likely no than yes. But Microsoft, most all of your customers are already doing Microsoft. It's just a matter of asking them who are they currently doing it with and when do they renew? And then plug yourself in as, their trusted advisor and their technology expert, and lean on us to handle those conversations so we can help you win.
I love it. This, Chayse, this is exactly what I was hoping for. So maybe the obstacle is the way in terms of the beginning, figuring out the technology, the first Wyly Wednesday. But in terms of the content and what we've discussed today, seriously, incredibly practical, timely, and genuinely useful for anyone out there in the channel that's trying to figure out where Microsoft really fits into their business right now. So again, for everyone watching, the takeaways are real. The CSP shift is happening as we speak. E7 is launching May 1st. That is, 2 days away. And the partner who moves first in these conversations is the one who's going to own that relationship. So you don't have to do it alone. That's literally what makes the Channel Exchange Marketplace so brilliant. Chayse, where can people connect with you and your amazing team to learn more about Channel Exchange?
Yeah, I do have a LinkedIn. You guys can, of course, add me on LinkedIn. I need to be better about checking that on the daily, but The best way really is, I think next steps would be to set up a meeting. I do have a booking link that I'm happy that Cher can share after this meeting as well. But the next step would be to let's schedule the, discovery introduction call. We can kind of go into more depth about our platform and what your actual workflow is going to look like, and then kind of uncover any opportunities or clients that you're speaking with today. And we can help you kind of fine tune what that engagement will look like with each one of them.
Absolutely. Win with Chayse. So, to everyone that tuned in and is watching, huge thank you for joining us for our very first Wyly Wednesday. Drop a comment, share with a partner, share with somebody who needs to hear this, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Chayse.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye bye.